and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies and comrades. I hope you're doing well, whatever you are. This is Kenyan Revolutionary for another session. It's Furahi Day, or Friday, as many of you refer to it. I want to speak about something very briefly, okay? Today I'll be brief, I promise. I know when Africans, when they tell you something's going to be brief, brace yourself for something really lengthy. But it's okay. It's okay. That's our culture. That's how we are. So grab a seat. I'll give you a few minutes just to make your way here, just to get this out of the way. If this is your first time in this channel is all about Kenyan politics and world politics as it relates to Kenya. But the concentration is basically on Kenyan politics, the events, and whatever the going-ons in Kenya, okay? So karibuni sana. Karibuni. As you know, the first order of business, once you tap in, you come in, is to hit that subscribe button. Actually, let me correct myself. The first order of business is to like the video. That's what you need to be doing. The first order of business is to do what? Like the video. And if you haven't subscribed, like I said, I've told you about this channel, what we talk about. Go ahead and subscribe, share, like, comment, and all that good stuff. If you're going to watch the on repeat, again, the rules apply. The first order of business is to like the video, share, comment, subscribe, do all the good stuff. You know what's up, okay? Anyway, so I think his name is Justin Muturi, the former CS of, he was AG during Kenyatta's regime, Uhuru Kenyatta that is. A very incompetent guy, corrupt, useless. But anyway, we shall just use him for the sake of the talk here. He was in, I don't know, Fix the Nation, that show in Kenya. It's like a news, Fix the Nation. It's like a news, and they kind of critique what's going on. They do basically the same thing I'm doing here, but they discuss it more in depth. I just give my opinion, and I also share the opinion of others in the chat. But anyway, anywho. So Justin Muturi, basically, I won't rehash what he said on that whatever, because I know people are calling it a bombshell. I'm just being facetious. I'm being dramatic. I'm being, it's hyperbole about this. But there's nothing new that Muturi said. Basically, he was just giving us a glimpse of the inner workings of how corrupt this Ruto regime is. He gave an example of how some Russian oligarchs were supposed to have him sign a deal at the airport and all this stuff and all that stuff. That stuff doesn't interest me. I know, the basic thing I know is Ruto is incompetent, he's corrupt. And actually Muturi used the same word that I've been using here, that Ruto is irredeemably corrupt. I'm glad he used those words, okay? But that is not news, so there's no bombshell to my part. I mean, it's not, I'm not surprised. I kind of switched on for like 30 seconds of the interview or whatever, whatever. Then I switched off because I already know what it's about. I'm tired of people coming out and talking about how Ruto is corrupt. I can only switch on and give you time or my attention, which I think my time is precious. So if I'm going to give you attention, I only want to listen to how we are going to not only remove Ruto, but revolutionize the corrupt Kenyan system. Okay? That's what I'm interested in. I don't want to hear about Ruto stealing $100 billion every day. I mean, that stuff is old by now, okay? That's why even the whole events that are happening in Mount Kenya with the Ruto you being heckled, and so this is all like, it's not moving the needle. And when I say moving the needle, I mean it's not doing anything to actually in the steps of revolutionizing the system, the Kenyan corrupt system. So that's why I do not pay attention to this news. It's good to talk about it here and there if but it's better to talk about the more substantial issues, that how we can actually bring change, okay? Now, let's get to it. I want to explain to you how what Muturi is basically doing in these interviews. Have you, if you have noticed, days leading up to Muturi being fired by Ruto, Muturi was very vocal. It was as if he was daring President Ruto to fire him. He spoke about his son being abducted, how he called whatever, and he told us where these guys were. I don't know, this secret police squad. He questioned, Ruto, and Ruto said that he has disbanded that police squad that was abducting the youth. He's doing all that stuff. He was being extra, let me just say that, leading up to his dismissal from the cabinet. And he said he was not fired, he didn't resign, he was fired by Ruto. That's what he's saying, which is okay. But what I want you to get out of this Muturi situation, what I want you to understand is that Muturi has a job to do. I'm not talking about his position as a CS. He's using the limelight, and is being allowed to do so by, as you know, these members of the media are in cahoots with the political elites. But what I'm trying to say is this: Muturi's main job, responsibility here, what he's trying to do is to basically continue to paint and illegitimize this Ruto regime. He wants people, the few that are left that still kind of believe in Ruto, to actually see that this government cannot be saved. It's not worth saving, so to speak. I'm using the word saving, the word save deliberately, or loosely, rather, okay? Anajaribu ku illegitimize. It is already illegitimate. I said in my last live that Ruto's regime has lost legitimacy with the people. People do not support this regime. They don't believe in anything he says. They see corruption left, right, and center. They are ready for him to go. So basically, Muturi is keeping up, okay? This whole, he's pounding on an already dead horse. He wants to heighten that feeling, because, once Raila Odinga and Mbadi and all these ODM guys had this MOU with Ruto and joined the government, there's some faction, not a lot. Majority of the people still do not like Ruto. But there's some who might, or there was a concerted effort by the ODM side to try to legitimize this government. Try to say that, Ruto is a good person. Ruto can actually turn things around. Ruto can still do this. He still cares about the Kenyan people, okay? So there was that push, especially from the ODM side. Now that Mbadi was in there and was telling us about the economy, how they can pay the debts and all this nonsense that they were trying to tell us. So Muturi, being somebody from Uhuru's corner, let's just not get it twisted. Muturi is Uhuru Kenyatta's stooge. But regardless, he is trying to kind of counter what the ODM folks were trying to do by trying to legitimize Ruto's regime. So Muturi is continuing to expose the inner workings of the Ruto's regime, okay? How corrupt they were, the corrupt dealings, whether it was the Adani, the billions that were stolen, all of that. That's what he's trying to do, basically, okay? So that's his, not his role, but that's his ambition, that's his goal. And that's why you see him on different public platforms, speaking about all these things that you have, revealing how Aiden Duale was, yelling at, what was his name? Is it Owalo or something like that, and somebody else, like kids, all that stuff. And I know the media laps this up because Kenyan politics people just love this stuff, okay? But today I want to concentrate on something different, slightly different, related to what I talked about last time. Remember when I talked to you about the Kahariri, the military, Kenya's military involvement in Kenyan politics, in the civilian politics, okay, civilian matters, okay? Remember I told you about, remember we spoke about that, and how the coming Mandamano, if it's not managed, the military might step in, okay? And if they do intervene, they might actually take power and say, hey, listen, this regime has failed its people, okay? So we are going to do what? We are going to oversee this, sort of like the Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore style of, coup d'etat. Now, the reason why I say this, and I want to reinforce my last session or assertion that I made in my last live with this. On June 28th, 27th, or 28th, one of those days, after June 25th, the Parliament, National Assembly, passed, I don't know if it was a law or gave, actually, let me just rephrase this. The National Assembly voted to permit the military to intervene in case of any future, protest. Do you remember that? I'll repeat again. Let me just drink my coffee because it's really, I don't usually drink coffee, but today I just feel it's Friday, so I need to speak about this. The National Assembly, ladies and gentlemen, let me just help you a little very quickly. The way it's set up, the way our system, the constitution, how it's set up, the military cannot be involved, or Kenya cannot go to war with any nation without the approval of the National Assembly, the legislative body. They have to approve that because the National Assembly or the legislative body are the representatives of the people. They represent every constituency in Kenya. So it's basically they represent us. So if the president wants to go to war with another nation, he has to have permission from the National Assembly, okay, from the legislative body, okay. So anyway, after June 25th happened, and we know what happened in June 25th, where the police forces were overpowered, they made their way to the Parliament, and like I said, ladies and gentlemen, I have to highlight this no matter what. Every time I talk about that incident, Okiom Tata, among others, explained how there were some rooms, areas in the Parliament that you only have to be an insider to be able to access those spaces, those offices, those rooms. But apparently, there were some Gen Zs who made it their way there. And the funny thing, according to Okiom Tata, the security footage are not available to see how these guys made their way there. So that's another question that, that's something that I really, really, really want you to kind of marinate on and think about how this happened, okay? Like I say, this Gen Zs on June 25th, it was just more than Gen Zs. There was some powers beyond just these Gen Zs running around and try to go to the Parliament, okay? That's what I want to say. All right, now, here's the thing though. Here's the message. This is what I wanted to elaborate here or explain. After the June 25th mass protest and, Parliament being invaded by the Gen Zs, what happened? The legislative body, the parliamentarians, National Assembly, they had to pass, permit. There was a motion that was brought about. I don't know who brought it, but they passed a law that permits the military to intervene in civilian matter in case there's any kind of, future protest, okay? And if you remember, I know a lot of people don't pay attention. If you remember, the Law Society of Kenya, the LSK, intervened and went to court and argued that there was no need of permitting the military to intervene on the civilian affairs because it was not a matter of emergency. So, just give me a moment, guys. There's a wonderful gentleman here who's taking care of stuff. So, give me a few minutes. But anyway, like I was saying, guys, I was saying this on June 27th. I believe, if not June 27th, 26th, or 28th, one of the above, one of the days, right after the 25th. Right after the 25th. There was the National Assembly. The National Assembly gave permission, passed a motion to give permission to permit the military to intervene in case we have another protest, mass protest like we had in June 25th. That's what basically those parliamentarians did. And the LSK, among other groups, went and intervened, petitioned the High Court and said, hey, you cannot permit the military to come and deal with the protesters because this was not, there was no agency for that. Agency, let me just use that. There was no state of emergency. It was just protesters protesting, which is their democratic right. It's enshrined in the Constitution. I think under Article 37, of the Constitution, Kenyan Constitution. The people can actually protest, freely. It's their democratic right. So what was appalling about all this, that the High Court of Kenya said they went ahead and say that the military can actually go ahead and intervene in case there's any mass protest next time. But Justice Mugambi, to be specific, highlighted and asked this question. He wanted to know the scope of military's involvement in this protest, as far as what's their scope of, what's their rules of engagement? Are they going to shoot shots? Are they going to use live bullets? Are they going to use grenades, bombs? What are they going to, if they are to be involved in trying to quell things when the protests erupt in Kenya, what is going to be their role? Do they have a defined role as far as, it's one thing to say that the military can go to the streets and intervene in case there's protests, but there have to be a definition of what their role is in case that is the case, okay? Because the military are not trained to arrest people. They're not they're not trained to, explain to you what law they are enforcing, because the military are only trained to deal with enemies abroad and within, okay? And they usually get involved in warfare, it's war, okay? So Justice Mugambi asked this: what will be the military's responsibility and how long are they supposed to be involved in the streets, okay? How long? Is there a time frame? Like if there's a protest today, let's say there's a protest today at the people are marching towards State House. If the military are deployed, how long are they supposed to, So basically, Justice Mugambi was saying the administration, which is Ruto's regime, given the fact that they've deployed the military, they should be able to tell the people how long the military should be involved in this intervention against the protest. And number two, what will be their responsibility? Are they allowed to arrest people? Are they going to shoot people? Are they going to use their grenades? What's their whatever of engagement, okay? So that was not defined by this regime. It was left blanket, it was a blanket whatever, but Mugambi raised those questions, okay? Justice Mugambi did, okay? But it was never addressed. Ruto never really came out and said, hey, this is what we are going to do. We are going to have the military for 3 days or 2 days or 5 days, whatever. It was never addressed, okay? So this gives room for something else, okay? This gives room for something else. There's a precedence now, okay? So in case we have in case we have a massive protest like we did last time in Kenya, like the June 25th, what will happen? If the police forces are overpowered, they cannot handle it, okay? Like we saw that one time when people went to the airport and CBD, or even in June 25th. If we have a case where the police forces are overpowered, overwhelmed by the people, because the people are protesting, there's so many people they can't do anything. Now, Kariri and his boys shall be sent to the streets, okay? And they shall cite Justice Mugambi's or the High Court's ruling on the matter, and they will cite the parliamentarians vote this issue and say that on June 27th or 28th, whatever that day, they were given permission that in case there's any protest, they can actually, join and intervene, which is still unconstitutional, because if you look at the Constitution, I mean, those protests, did they really meet the threshold or definition of anarchy, or was it enough to cause a state of emergency, to call a state of emergency? Okay, so he can say, absolutely. James is saying, Karibu Sana James, please like the video. James Mwangi is saying, Ruto wants to cause chaos so he can stay in power past 2027. Absolutely, that's also a very, very, very good observation. It's a possibility. He might be choreographing all this stuff so that he can do that. And I'll explain why very quickly. So yeah, so like I say, so next time we have a massive protest, in Kenya, Ruto, if the police force are overwhelmed by the people, like we saw on June 25th and the days following before that, the military can actually come out and, flood the streets and say, we are here to bring the peace. Now, the danger in that is this, and it's two-pronged, okay? It's two ways we can look at it. If, let's say, we have a massive protest next time, please, guys, hit the like button. If you get in just the first audio business, just hit the like button, okay? And like I said, I won't be here for long, but I'll explain to you why. I'll not explain to you why I'm going to be not to be here for long. But what I'm trying to say is this: the danger of bringing the military to the fold is this. If there's a massive protest like we saw last time on the June 25th, and there's a lot of people, the police force are overwhelmed, if the military intervenes, okay, there's a danger of the military actually taking over, because they can say, hey, listen, it's chaotic, it's anarchy from Central Province to Western Province to, I don't know, Coast Province, Nyanza, whatever. It's chaos everywhere. And the police cannot manage the people. So we are going to stay as far as we can, and we shall stay here. And Ruto, please step down, because it seems like you are the problem. So we are going to oversee the transition period. We are going to bring peace and make sure there's tranquility. And meanwhile, we shall be in power until, the constitution is suspended. The military is now, it's under the military rule. And we shall see the transition into the next election. Meanwhile, Ruto, you're no longer the president of the Republic of Kenya. That's one possibility that can happen out of this, okay? The second possibility is that, the Kariri may stay loyal to Ruto, okay? And basically come in, help quell the situation, okay? Then, as John Mwangi has said in the comment section, Ruto might use that to say that, hey, listen, the country is not stable, there's no stability, the military will help work together with the police to ensure that we have peace across the nation. Meanwhile, we cannot have an election in 2027 because the tensions are so high. I'll have to stay a little bit longer, maybe 2 more years, as I make sure that tukue na money, okay? So basically try to use the excuse that the country is so chaotic. He had to call them Ninio. Karibu sana Mshi Maria, musininyime like basi. Why you like? Where's my have a seat? I didn't know you were coming, so I didn't say save your seat. Grab a seat. Umechelewa kidogo lakini ni sawa. So that's why I'm saying, so he can use that as Mwangia say that. He can say that, hey, listen, the country is unstable. You see, there's this protests are going around, kuna makelele, so I'll have to, you know, he'll stay in power. Ataka, you know, he'll stay in power until, in his mind, he'll try to justify that, you know, he's the chief ninio. What is Ruto's ninio? Mkuu wa majeshi, okay? The head of the armed forces, okay, is Ruto, okay? Because CDF, which is Chief Defense Forces, Kariri takes his orders from Ruto. Ruto, the president, the head of the state, is also the what? Mkuu wa majeshi. So Ruto can argue that, okay, the country is chaotic. There's protests everywhere. Watu wanachoma matairi. Wanasema Ruto must go. And you see how Ruto must go now is being labeled as a treasonous chant. That's how ridiculous it is. But anyway, but now Ruto can argue and say that, okay, you don't want me as a president, that's fine. I will leave, but I have to take on my duty as the chief of the head of the armed forces, okay? And make sure that I maintain peace in the country. So the army, along with the police force, watafanya kazi yao. Meanwhile, I remain as the head of the state until things are calm, okay? Till we have maintain calma, okay? As my Spanish friends will say that, or tranquility is restored. So he can make that argument. He will say that, okay, we have a state of emergency. People are erupting. Kuna maandamano kila pahali. Watu wanachoma matairi. Nobody is safe. You know. So I will wear my hat as the head of the armed forces, and I will use them. I will nitawaweka kwa streets. I will be working with Kariri and other generals to make sure the hotspots. He atasend majeshi huko Central Province since mlima itakuwa imekuwa erupted because if there's one place that will be the first one to erupt in 2027 or the near future, it has to be Mlima for obvious reason, okay? But it won't be Mlima only. It will be other places. Nairobi is also hotspots and other places. I'm sure he gets intelligence about this from Haji and other people, okay? But that's what I'm trying to say. So it can either go two ways. It's either Kariri can either take over and say, Ruto, these people are not feeling you. You need to go, step out. We are going to sit here and oversee the transition into the next election, which might delay the 2027. Or Kariri can remain loyal to Ruto, okay? And Ruto can argue that, hey, listen, you don't want me as a president, that's fine. But I have to undertake my duty as the head of the armed forces. And he will come out with his military outfit like Uhuru used to do and say, hey, listen, I'm going to deploy the military to quell, to bring peace in Kenya because easy maandamano zimeshika moto, the police cannot do it alone, then we shall go under martial law if we have to, okay? Ile wanaambiwa kama 1982 nasikia ukifika saa 12 haufai kutoka kwa nyumba yako na unatembea na magoti na kitambulisho kwa kichwa. Basically something like that. And he will argue that he's doing that because the country is ungovernable until normalcy is restored, okay? So those are two scenarios that are possible scenarios that can take place. That's why it's so dangerous, this whole permission, this approval by the parliament, by the National Assembly to approve the military to get involved in this mandamano. These mandamano should not, you know, the army should not really get involved with it. But I understand because you can have situations. There's two ways to look at it because you can have situations where, you know, kuna watu ambao wako na ninio yao, wako na nia yao. I told you, in a maandamano, there are people who actually are fighting for the goal of, you know, changing the regime and the system. Na kuna watu ambao ni waovu. They have their own agenda. Okay, they want to take advantage. Unajua, in the midst of chaos, kuna watu ambao wanataka kuchukua power in the midst of chaos. Sasa zile kuna nio. That's why you see, if you look at lions, okay, predators, okay, lions when they want to attack the wildebeest, unaona wengine wametokea na huko, wengine wametokea iko na wengine sawa wanasumbua wao nini, and then they bring commotion. Okay, meanwhile wametarget mtu mmoja pale, wametarget one wildebeest. So sasa zile kuna commotion within the wildebeest, wanakimbia, everyone is scampering for their own lives. They've already wanaenda kushika yule mmoja ambao yule the weak one ambaye ako pale, unaona. So sasa zile kuna chaos, there are some people who take advantage of that, i.e. Raila Odinga, the Martha Karuas, the usual suspect. That's when once the wananchi are out there and protesting and doing all these sorts of things, that's when you see the Kalonzos and Martha Karuas pretending to stand with the people. They always want it both ways. They always want it both ways, just like Raila Odinga. Okay, want it both ways. Sasa zile maandamano imechacha, ndio unaona wanajifanya tu wamesimama na maandamano, because the power now has shifted from the regime to the people. Alafu sasa zile wameona ati let's say Ruto amerudi kukuwa president, and Ruto now is mambo imestabilize. Okay, now Ruto is cemented as a president. Sasa unaona wanataka kuingia kwa coalition na Ruto. Unaona hata hao pia wanataka kukuwa, wanajifanya wanataka kuingia wakuwa minister. Hao pia wanataka wapewe cheo sijui. You see what I'm saying? So these are nothing that are opportunist. Okay, that's what nimesema. The biggest threat to Ruto is the will of the sovereign people of Kenya. Okay? And how does it thwart the will of the sovereign people of Kenya? Ni vipi ana manipulate your will yenu? How does he do it? He takes advantage of the opportunists that are within these movements. Unaelewa? These opportunists, the Kasmuel Makaures, okay, wanakuja na kizungumkuti na wamevaa suti ya Gikomba, alafu wanajifanya they are very intellectual, they are telling you something. Yeah, we are for change, we are for this, we are for that, we are for that. But in reality, they are working for Ruto. Ndio maana unaona, I highlighted the last time I told you guys, go look at his first interview with Spice FM, when he said, there's no one who will come out there and just say, ati watu waende maandamano. They have to go check with the collective. Nikajiuliza, hata Eric akamuliza, who are these collective? Why can't anyone just come up and say, we are going to maandamano? Now you see, that is another way of doing what? Suppressing the grassroots revolutionary movement. You use it, you suppress it by using opportunists like Kasmuel, opportunists like the Martha Karuas, opportunists like Musyoka, to pretend that they're standing with the people. Opportunists like Okiya Mtata, opportunists like, what's his name? This guy that, Matiang'i. These are opportunists. Wanaona ati hao ndio wanataka ku run for president. They want to run for president. But if you look at their track record, there's nothing, absolutely nothing, that shows you that these people, when they find they are put there, they shall bring any meaningful change. If anything, they will continue with oppressive policies of looting and killings, extrajudicial killings, corruption, tribalism. These people have been involved in this system since the late 80s, up to date. They're nothing but opportunists. Hiyo ndio shida tuko nayo Kenya. Ndio maana nikasema, what Kasmuel revealed in that interview echoed what Raila Odinga said in that speech when he was apologizing to Tim Wanyonyi, which showed you how these people organize grassroots movements, okay? Which later with time, recruiting young folks, recruiting political activists, that later on they can easily organize a maandamano that is big enough to actually do what? To destabilize any regime in power, so that they can negotiate for a position in the government. Mnanisikia vizuri? I'm going to repeat this for those of you who are sitting at the back. Naona huko Ayaga na kuona huko nyuma. Weka like hapo. Wacha let me repeat that so you can get it. Because Ayaga hajaipata, naona hajaisikia. Ayaga, hebu move closer in the classroom. Move, kuja ukae hapa mbele. Ayaga, I want to talk to you. Yes, karibu sana. Naona umekaa backbencher. What Raila Odinga did, he planted a seed early in his career. He understood the importance of grassroots mobilization. Go listen to his speech carefully. How he came in 1997, Raila Odinga was not known for anything but a suspect in what? In 1982 failed coup d'etat. Right? That was all Raila was known for. He was known as this Odinga's son who was involved in 1982 failed coup d'etat. That's all he was known for. By 2025 or 2007, Raila Odinga is a force to reckon with. You have to deal with him if you want to remain president. Why? Where does he get his power? That is what I was explaining to you guys last time, and he gave us a glimpse of how to do it. He planted these seeds throughout the years, 80s, having civil, activists, political activists in every corner of the country, especially with concentration in Nairobi, because he was eyeing the Langata seat in 92, mobilizing people. Unanisikia? So he rose to prominence, and being someone who has been in politics for a long time, and of course he was always on the side of pretending to be fighting for the plight of Ninio, the wananchi. So with time, he had that social currency. Sasa hata nani akienda Uhuru akiiba kura, he has the people. He'll organize his people, waende wakachome Nairobi CBD, and Uhuru cannot business haiwezi kuendelea. Because unfortunately, Kenya will still power the economic backbone of Kenya still lies in Nairobi. Okay, of course, Central Province being but still, I'm talking about the business district still is centered and concentrated in Nairobi. That's why all the maandamanos happen in Nairobi. So anaenda na mobilize watu wako, his psychopathic following. Now wanaenda na cause chaos. It forces the president to come sit down with him and ask him what does he want. Because he understood this is a seed that he planted long time ago, because he understood one thing: power lies with the people, not the instruments of power, not the statecraft, not the army, not the police, not the NIS. You can have all that, but if you lack legitimacy, you will still be removed, because the will of the people, sovereign people of Kenya, is more stronger than this NIS and all this. Kibaki was warned before 2007, wakaambiwa ukiiba hii kura ninio itachomeka. The country will burn if you iba hii kura. Don't try. The intelligence community told him that. But Kibaki with Mount Kenya Mafia walimwambia wewe endelea. Iko nini watafanya mtadu? And we found out the hard way. Among them was Martha Karua, who is now pretending with purple dresses, acting as if she's going to bring meaningful change. But the point I'm trying to make is this: the power, the real power, lies with the people. So in order to galvanize people, you have to. It's the hardest task you'll ever have, because we've had history, decades of tokenism, opportunists masquerading as political activists, as revolutionaries. All they care about is they want to get into government. Makoure has his eye to become the MP of probably Langata. That's why you see he's running around, join Raila Odinga, learning the ropes, okay? Anajifanya ati yeah, I'm for the youth, for the youth, okay? But he just wants to be MP. Na akishakuwa MP, you'll see him will be doing the same thing the Ichungwas are doing because he will be receiving a lot of salary. Wanapigia hiyo kiti kwa sababu ya pesa. There's nothing. These are all opportunists. Same thing with Kalonzo Musyoka. Same thing with Martha Karua. Same thing with Matiang'i. The real grassroots revolutionary movement in Kenya is pacified because it is riddled, filled with people who are not principled. They're a bunch of opportunists, not people who want change. They're not sticking it out because they believe in democratic principles or democratic ideals. They're simply opportunists who want to make a career as activists turned politicians so that they can find themselves in the very oppressive, corrupt system. That way they enjoy the piece of the corrupt pie, of the rotten pie, so that they can become billionaires. Wapate hizo tenda, wapate ile gari kubwa ambayo iko na nini flag, waitwe mheshimiwa. You see what I'm saying? So that is the main ingredient, impediment that's impeding a revolution from happening now in Kenya. The fact that it has been captured, infiltrated with opportunists who pretend to be part of the movement, but they are there to scuttle the movement or use it to fulfill their own selfish ambitions. Kasmuel Mokaure is the best example. Martha Karua is the best example of these opportunists who pretend. You saw them there with their press conference talking about the IEBC composition. Kwani haukujua ati IEBC was corrupt? You see the kind of games they play. That is what I'm talking about. What is standing between us and having a total overhaul, revolutionizing the system, is these agents who have been hired by the political bourgeoisie, elites, to scuttle any kind of grassroots movement that can bring change through popular what? Popular initiative, popular protest. That is what I'm trying to tell you. That is why Raila Odinga was brought to the fold. Raila Odinga has the grassroots network to pacify these movements. So you see, Raila Odinga came with Makoure, and he used Makoure to take a faction of these Gen Zs, okay? And others. It's not only Makoure who's working. Of course, we have Boniface Mwangi, who also, the Hanefas, who are paid. Look at Cairo. All of them. These are people who are used. Okay? Karibu sana WS Banka. Ijumaa njema. Naam. That's how they do it. Kwa sababu wakiona mkianza kujiorganize, mnataka kuleta maandamano massive, That's why I'm telling you, go listen to that. 2 speeches that you have to listen to understand why hakuna umoja. Wakenya hawakuji pamoja wamuondoe Ruto na waondoe Raila Odinga na waondoe Martha Karua na waondoe Kalonzo na waondoe kila hawa magasia yote. Because he explained there are about 49 or 50 political activists or political groups in Nairobi alone that meet and organize and agonize. And that's why you see he started speaking against. Unakumbuka wale watu ambao walikuwa naika poster kwa nini, kwa X, kwa Twitter, wakisema ati kesho ni maandamano. He started speaking against that because they wanted to control. Hao ndio control, mnaenda maandamano lini na mnaenda maandamano saa ngapi. You have to get their permission. And the constitution doesn't say that you have to have permission kwenda ku protest. Wewe enda protest. Hata saa hizi unaweza kwenda protest. But they want to control hiyo protest. Ndio maana wakatumia watu kama Kasmuel, Cairo, Hanifa, Otero, Boniface Mwangi to control the crowds, because those are the influential faces that the media have propped up as the leaders of this Gen Z movement. Ayaga unasikia? Andika chini. Because like I tell you, Ruto has lost the fundamentals, the rudiments of governance. The people's will. He has lost that. And once you lose the people's will, you're dead as dodo. No law that you can pass that people will agree. No speech you can give that people will listen to. No project that you can launch that people will be happy about. No politician that you will prop that people will actually pay attention to. No bill that you'll sign that people will actually respect. No elections that you'll vie that people will actually elect you. Why? Because you've lost the legitimacy, the sovereign will of the people. Once you lose that, you are a nobody, you are useless, you're powerless. That's why Raila Odinga was saying, Ruto ni kama nini? Simba kibogoyo, a lion that has no teeth. A lion that has no teeth can do nothing but roar. Karibu sana Mwanjiku. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. So why did Raila come in? Raila was brought into the fold because what? Raila is the only politician left that comes from that generation of Wakina Matiba, that generation of Martin Shikuku, even though Martin Shikuku alitucheza, that generation of Kijana wa Malwa, that generation, okay, who understands the importance of political mobilization. And that's why he has enjoyed support for a long time, even though it's dwindling and it's waning quick by the minute because of his association with this oppressive regime. Of course, his relationship with Ruto is transactional. It might not even last till 2027, but he has to eat and enjoy the billions that Oscar Sudi sends him in Bondo every week. I told you Raila is an extortionist. But that's not where I'm going with it. I'm just highlighting the most important thing where power lies. You know, let me explain something very quickly. there's something I want to explain. You know, there was one time I was having a debate with somebody in another platform, and I gave a name. I was like, "What do you think about this this candidate or this person possibly becoming a candidate for the presidency?" You know what they told me? Huyo jamaa hana pesa. Huyo jamaa hana pesa. They don't have money. And I was like, okay, so if somebody is not rich, he cannot vie for presidency because he has no money. And that's when I kind of understood how we run our politics. We believe money is better than ideas. Let me tell you something. If we continue with this whole idea, let me read this nearby Wanjiku. Unbelievable. Obasanjo, the Museveni Raila Ruto meeting with Uhuru, tuned in silently, was the beginning of the dynasty versus Kenyans. Yes, absolutely. It has always been like that. The problem with the siasa ya pesa that we are playing, because why do we call them political elites, Kenyan political elites or bourgeoisie? Because they have money. They're the top 1% that have more money than the rest of the wananchi. And the problem with this money politics, they will use that money not to share it with you so you can also have an opportunity to become rich like them. No. They will just sprinkle some trinkets, some crumbs. Enjoy the crumbs. 200 hapa, 500 hapa, 1000 hapa, 1400, so that you can vote for them and keep them there while you wallow in your squalid living conditions. Why? Because they do not want you to interrupt their corrupt ways up here. Listen, the Constitution is there. You know, I was listening to Okiya Omtatah when he was talking about debt and all this wonderful stuff, and he was talking about, oh, we should, hold these regimes that have been borrowing all this debt, illegal debts that we have been incurring through these regimes, okay? And that Constitution is very clear that if these officials borrowed all this, Eurobonds and all that stuff, they can be held liable for it and not us Kenyans. And one thing I've come to realize with Okiya Omtatah, he says wonderful things, and that's a wonderful idea. Yes, the Constitution says all that. But the question you should ask him is, what is stopping us from doing that? Enforcing what the Constitution says. Because listen, the Constitution is very clear about how the IBC is supposed to be constituted. The boundaries, delimitation, the time had lapsed. And why did it lapse? Okay? Why did that time for boundary delimitation, which is supposed to happen after 10 years and can be left up to 12 years, but it has lapsed up to imepita 12 years. And Ruto was supposed to constitute the IBC, choose a selection panel, which in turn chooses the next electoral commissioners. Way before that. But what stopped Ruto from doing so? It is the same political class, the elites, the big people who are above the law, the Raila Odinga, and his ODM folks, the Opiyo Wandayi, Mbadi, and the rest of them. They came out and say that if Ruto chooses the IBC without consulting them or involving them, watarudi maandamano. They threaten the president not to follow the Constitution. Listen to me. This is how serious. I'm painting a picture so you can understand what's wrong with Kenya. That's why we don't have all these changes that we want. you have people who are more, they feel like they're above the law. Ruto was supposed to reconstitute the IBC mapema kitambo. Their constituency that have no representatives because there's no IBC in place. But it was all delayed because ODM and Azimio and Martha Karua and the rest of them, Kalonzo Musyoka, who sat at Bomas while they were discussing this whole NADCO nonsense, they said, Ruto, you cannot follow the constitution. Ukichagua IBC, you have to change the law that makes sure that it involves us. Basically, not even insinuating, basically saying in not so many words that Ruto, the constitution to us means nothing. We have the numbers. Tuko na watu ambao wanaweza kuleta mizozo hapa Kenya. And there's nothing you can do. You cannot govern without us. Huwezi kufanya kitu kwa sababu we have the people. I have the network, mobilizing network that can go in the street now, chome vitu, and you will not be able to govern. So you better change that law, ndio utuongeze hapa kwa hii NADCO. Na hii NADCO mpaka ikuwa implemented na utulipe pesa. And Ruto had to do it. Why? Because number one, Ruto had lost the Ruto had lost legitimacy with the people. And number two, Raila still maintains a huge network, political network, grassroots political network that he can summon like demons to get to the streets and cause enough carnage to force the president to sit on his lap. You see where the power lies? I'm trying to help you to understand something. You see where the real power lies. And that's why Raila is always in every government. Raila doesn't want to be president. President Yanin, he's the president, co-president. Yeah, Kalonzo said that Azimio will call for Maandamano if by March last month Ruto does not constitute IBC. Kalonzo is on both sides. He waits for Raila to press buttons to squeak. Africa. Absolutely. What I'm trying to do simply is to point a finger, identify where the power lies. Ndio maana mimi ukiona I go off on people who come and say, oh, nyinyi Waluhya mnataka kuleta vita. Oh, nyinyi Wajaluo mnataka kuleta vita. Oh, nyinyi Wakikuyu mnataka kuleta vita. Oh, nyinyi Wakisii mnataka kuleta vita. I fight against people who do that because they do not understand that we are being divided on tribal lines. But if we organize as Kenyans and say, jamani, let the constitution work for us. Tuache hii mambo ya ukabila. Let the constitution iko hapo iko sawa. It has never been implemented fully. It has never been implemented. Who was the first president when the 2010 ilingia? Kibaki never followed the constitution. He rubbished it. Uhuru, absolutely. Ndio maana walikuwa wanagombana na Maraga every day. Ruto doesn't even try. Raila doesn't want it. Raila anataka kwa government. Hii NADCO is a mongrel. It's illegal. The High Court already declared itself. It says NADCO is not anchored in law. And like somebody say, Kalonzo is playing the both sides, just like Martha Karua. Leo wanajifanya ati wako opposition, IBC. Mambo ikitendeka unaona wanaingia kwa serikali. That's why I call out anyone who supports the Kalonzos, Matiang'i, Karuas. That's why I do that with so much passion, because I see the game that they're playing. But there are agents who come here and try to tell you that, oh, Kalonzo is a good leader. He can take over from Ruto. Matiang'i is a good leader. He has fought for Kenyans. Wapi. Oh, Karua is a great leader. Martha Karua will take us to the Neo. Are you serious? That's why I fight against this thing. And I will do so as long as God gives me breath to breathe. And I have medium of communication. Hata kama ni mtu mmoja naangalia, tutaendelea. Because in my heart of hearts, I believe in what I'm saying. Kenya should work for Kenyans. We have a constitution that is supreme law of the land. Na tutaipigania hata kama tuko Kenya ama tuko nje ya Kenya. Ama tuko katikati ya Kenya, ama tuko mlima Kenya, ama tuko lakeside Kenya, ama tuko huko western Kenya, ama tuko coastal Kenya, ama tuko Kenya mahali popote. Tutaipigania. Hawa wakina Raila Odinga, hawa wakina Martha Karua, hawa wakina Kalonzo wawekwe jela. Waache kutuchezea ati mna recycle the same. But I've told you, even hawa kina Kahariri hawa, they are corrupt. Why do you think yule polisi alienda kuzungumza aki-address watu, anaongea ni kama ako kwa kampeni ya Ruto? A police officer, mkubwa wa polisi. Police should be independent. The police force should be an independent governing body. EACC should be an independent body. Si ati EACC inashika mtu kwa sababu Waititu wasikizani na Ruto, so anashikwa ati kwa sababu anamletea kesi. DCI. Karibu sana Gypsy Corner. Please like the video. Unaniambia hi, can there are a lot of politicians representatives around. That's why I'm fed up, but I watch behind the scenes nowadays. I understand your pain. Ndio maana I'm not entertaining anything that Muturi is saying, because he's saying something that we've been knowing. I mean, if you care about the intricacies of Ruto's corrupt enterprise, then go ahead and listen to Muturi. But he's not saying anything new to me. Telling me Ruto is corrupt, is that news? Even if you tell me Ruto alikuwa anataka kuuza Kenya yote, Saudi Arabia nunue Kenya, I want to be surprised. I want to be sitting here and telling you, hey, Ruto wanted to do that. Yeah? It's not surprising. Wekeni like hapo, msinicheze. Wekeni like hapo tafadhali. Mnaelewa? That's why we do what we do. And that's why I'm sending these messages to those who are trying to channel kama hizi. Wanajaribu kusubdue our channels. Hack into our attack us. The fire in my belly, you don't understand it. It is not even something I can explain to you. Munasikia wewe? Keep wherever you are. Na wale watu wametumwa na Ruto wamkuje kuleta confusion Kenya. The fire in my belly. Ujui imetoka wapi? You're not going to stop this movement. Ningeiwachilia hapa, ile fire iko kwa tumbo yangu inaweza kuchoma hii world 7 times over. It's stronger than any nuclear weapon. It is fire for justice for all Kenyans. Mpaka uelewe hiyo. This is not a quarrel between one tribe and the other. This is not a quarrel about one the nation and the other. One personality versus the other. One YouTube channel versus the other. This is not it. You're wrongly mistaken. This is fight for the justice of Baby Pendo. Justice for Baby Mora. Justice from Sando. Justice for all Kenyans of goodwill, sovereign people. Wakikuyu, Wajaluo, Mijikenda, wa Somali, every Kenyan. I can't even name every tribe. So mkiendelea na hiyo propaganda yenu ambao mmelipwa sijui 500 mkuje mseme ati Martha Karua is the best president hapa, we will not tolerate you. We've listened to the arguments. You cannot run away from the facts. These are people with checkered pasts. Yes, victims for 2007. Victims. Can you imagine? No. Listen to me. Think about this carefully. I want you to picture this. Let me draw you something. That's why I have this fire in my belly. Think about mama, an innocent mother who had her kids, 3 kids, with a family at night. All of a sudden, vita imeanza, imechacha. She had nothing to do with voting for Kibaki or voting for Raila. This mother, wamekuwa attacked. And the only place she thought she could find refuge is a church in Kiambaa. A church in what? Kiambaa. With 3 innocent children. She goes to the place where people worship a living God, because she believes that's where she can find refuge. And these bloody suckers, they were so evil, they started burning the church so that this mother and her 3 kids and others who are seeking refuge in the house of the Lord can find refuge. And the sad part is this. This is what touched me. The fire was so hot in there, the children and the mother were trying to run out of that church because walikuwa nakufa, the smoke and the heat. And these people, I'm not saying it's one tribe or the other. I'm just saying the perpetrators of this crime, because of the hate that you people are playing with, that you're perpetrating. They walishika huyo mama na mtoto wake and threw her back in the flames of that burning church in Kiambaa and burned her with 3 of her kids to death. And they were celebrating. Oh, huyu alipigia Kibaki, watu wa Kibaki. Her only crime was because she was a Kikuyu. Probably didn't even vote. Probably didn't even know who, never met Kibaki in her life. Never even received anything from Kibaki. But her only crime was because of her tribe. She didn't, nothing to do with Raila, nothing to do with Kibaki. That's the kind of hate that you want to play around with. Because this is how it starts. Oh, watu wa mlima. Oh, watu wa lake, nyinyi wa Jaluo. Oh, watu. That's what you're playing with. You think it's cute showing up here with Martha Karua's face on your background. The lady that actually sparked this shit, that's wearing purple today and telling you about electoral justice and all this nonsense. You think it's cute. That's the kind of hate you're playing with. We started this channel, some of us, because of we want justice for that mother and her 3 kids that were burnt down in Kiambaa, so the perpetrators can face the full nini of justice, regardless of their tribe. They don't have to be the same tribe as me, but it's from human to human. That's evil in so many levels. I can care less if that woman was Indian or Chinese or Mgiriama. She never deserved that. She doesn't. She did not. Absolutely not. But here you are, with your little brain, you think that money that you're getting paid by Martha Karua and Raila Odinga to divide the flock, to divide Kenyans along tribal line is going to take you far. Let God have mercy on you. I'm telling you, let God have mercy on you. Mungu akusamee. Because vitu ambayo nafikirianga saa ingine. Let God have mercy on you. That's all I can pray for. Wacha Mungu akusamee. That's what I can say. Wenda kapiganie likes huko. Mwanze channel muendeleze hizo channel zenu za ukabila. Muendelee na hizo ukabila mnacheza nayo. Go listen to this harrowing stories. Horror stories of Rwanda. Hata wacha 2007. Lakini mnataka kurudisha the same idiots to come to power. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's Friday. But sometimes you have to, that's why me. Anyway, let me not say much. Yeah. Kuna stories zingine ukisikia mazee, the atrocities that happened during easy clashes, easy civil war. Chali mnacheza. You don't know what you're entertaining. Hate si kitu ya mchezo. Anyway, guys, let me not nisipandwe na morio sana. But I'm here to just tell you, this is why we started channels like this. So wewe endelea ukihaka huko ukifikiri wewe ni unafanya kazi ya Ruto vizuri. Ati kwa sababu ndio unataka channel yako ipande. Endelea. Like I say, money si kitu kwetu. What is money? What is money? Kuna watu wana print pesa for fun. They're printing money basically. Money is worthless. It's not backed by anything. Yeah? Money ni nini? Pesa ni nini? Money is worthless. It is what you stand for. Unaelewa? What you stand for. Kwani Mungu alikuleta kwa hii ulimwengu upate pesa tu? Wewe pesa ndio uko nayo, ndio unajiringaringa hapo, watu wanakupigia makelele hapa. What is nini mbaya na nini? Stand for something. Hata kama watu wanakutukana, stand for something. Justice. Mungu is a just God. God is a just God. Pesa ni nini? Iki tutatumia hapa itaisha. What is the difference between mtu anaendelea? Wacha niwaulize nyinyi. Hata Elon Musk is who is the richest man in the world? Elon Musk kama ni nani? Tuchukue tu Elon Musk. Elon Musk anaendesha Tesla ama Bentley ama nini kwa duka. Sina anakojuanga tu kama mtu mwingine. Sina anahara kama watu wengine. Yes, justice and humanity. Anaenda kwa choo tu kama sisi. Anahara kama sisi, hata kama anahara kwa choo ya gold. Lakini anahara tu. Anakula, anakunywa maji. Na hata pia atakufa kama sisi. utasimama kwa mbele ya Mungu na utaulizwa wewe ulifanya nini maisha yako? What did you do with your life? Kenya Rebel, ulikuwa unapiga makelele kwa YouTube. What did you do with your life? Show me your works. Mungu, unajua mimi nilikuwa natukananga. I used to abuse Gypsy Corner hapo kwa chat. I used to abuse Wanjiku hapo kwa chat. That's all I did, Mungu wangu. Wewe utapelekwa kwa moto jehanamu. Anyway guys, I'm not here to preach to you, but wacha niwachie tu hapo. Wacha tu niwachie hapo. Guys, like your video. The whole point is to see the bigger picture. See the bigger picture. Unajua watu kama Oscar Sudi wanafurahishwa na hizi sijui belt ya 6,000, sijui Gucci, gari nzuri. To them that is life. Kwa sababu ni washamba. They are from, yani wamefika pale, they don't understand it. They've never experienced. Wanafikiri kupanda, having a private plane, kupigiwa makofi, that's life. Life can be, hey. Anyway, nisiwa preachie, it's been more than 1 hour. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends and comrades, Gypsy Corner, nice seeing you. Usipotee sana. Wanjiku pia, thank you so much. Shi Mariam, Ayaga pia alikuwa hapa, and everybody who was here. Thank you so much, guys. I will stop here. Please continue liking and sharing this video, and subscribe if you have to subscribe if this is your first time we talk about Kenyan politics and wild politics as relate to Kenya. So subscribe, share, like, comment. If you're going to watch the repeat, do the same. I will see you guys next time. It's Friday, so I have to go. Asanteni sana. WS Banka, nice seeing you too, my friend. It's been a while. Nyote, every one of you. Please, once I get my laptop straightened out, nitaanza kuingiza watu ndio tugombane vizuri. Na kutukanana na watu. The owner of Telegram app lives in Airbnb. He said he does not care about to buy a mansion, furnish it. Absolutely. Okay. I know the owner of Telegram is he's a Russian, I think, if I'm not mistaken, a billionaire by now. Yeah. So yeah. So but you know, yeah. But anyway, guys, let me leave it here. Thank you so much. Muzidi, mukae hivyo, mupendane kwa mmoja na amani, like Moi used to say. Siasa mbaya, maisha mbaya. I'm out. Peace and blessings.